We say that anything and everything which has a space and a story, that is where we belong to. So once we got the museum, we were told that we need to do a museum on earthquake, but we really wanted to get into it, that what a earthquake museum is all about. So during our research, we realized that the story is not just the earthquake. The story is about the constant natural occurrence which is happening. As of today's museum, it need to be very interactive. It need to be technology heavy to be able to show these kind of secret or amazing stories to different users. So it is like a place where you depict death. So we created a space where we captured all the phone calls which were happening that time. So again, you need to see that how a old building kind of had a readaptive, reuse of using into a new system of design. What you see as information is all reflection from the sunlight, and we have not touched the wall broadly and did a lot of branding and signages for the area of Taj Mahal itself.
A warm good afternoon from the Architect's Diary. Today, we are honored to have with us Siddharth sir, the principal architect of Design Factory India. So, a short introduction about sir. Siddharth sir is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, an architect and an industrial designer from education, and is the managing director and founding partner of Design Factory India. He is a multi specialist designer with a focus on interactive public space, brand, and digital. With over a decade of experience, he is a dedicated advocate of strategic thinking and the thoughtful use of technology. As a design practitioner, he has been involved in a lot of multidisciplinary design projects, ranging from designing the Museum of Socialism, Agra City Museum, Info Center, and Smritivan Earthquake Museum. It's an honor to have you with us today, sir, and thank you so much for spending your time from this busy schedule of yours. And we look forward to seeing what you have to look at your projects. So I hand over the stage to you.
Thank you, Simran. Thanks again. So I will broadly share you some of my projects now.
Yes.
So I will make a short presentation of 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. We belong to a place known as Design Factory India. So what we do is that we strategize and create experiential and narrative spaces. So that is what we do. We say that anything and everything which has a space and a story, that is where we belong to. So all the projects in entirely get segmented to typologies of narration and spaces. Of course, we have worked around India, 100 projects in progress. There are 15 projects. We've already executed 85 of them. We broadly comes into four fields, as I told you. One is museum and exhibition, then urban and heritage. We do a lot of urban and heritage projects where there's a lot of storytelling, and then we do branding and communication, and interior and architecture. So broadly, have done museums in Ahmedabad, in Lucknow, in Mumbai. From museums to exhibitions to libraries to hospital signages. So broadly, there are many typologies of the projects which we have done. So our expertise is into conservation services, execution, lighting, film and video, projection mapping, graphic curation, media research, operation maintenance. We of course, have a LA of projects which are upcoming. So there's a big human biology museum which we are doing in Ahmedabad. Then we are doing an archaeology museum in Vadnagar. It's a small town near Ahmedabad itself where we have found excavation remains of 2,500 years ago. So there's a big archaeology museum which is coming. Then we are doing a science museum in Junagadh. We are doing a very interesting museum which is at a very, very important site known as Rakigadi, which is one of the oldest excavated site in India, which is on the lines of Indus Valley civilization, which is in Hisar. We're also doing a museum of spirituality near Allahabad. So broadly, museums from different segments, right from science to technology to artifacts to spirituality. Some of the works, as I show you, in our museums and exhibition place. So this is a museum which is in Bhuj, which is on earthquake. Fortunately, we have got many awards on that, right from the IF award to Red Dot to A Design Award and the London Design Award, etc. So this is a museum which is located at Bhuj itself. It's a Smritivan earthquake museum. We have done the interior curation and the interior design of it. So I will just show you a small video on this so you can get to know what it is all about.
You are on a journey where resilience is defined, resilience is detailed, resilience is celebrated. Going beyond the devastation of the 2001 earthquake, Smritivan invites you to view our world through the lens of constant change, adaptation, and evolution. From witnessing the ever changing environments to walking through the scenes of the quake, from knowing how Chinkara has adapted to survive on dewdrops, to learning ways to prepare for the future. From understanding the land's kinetic topography to paying digital homage to the lost souls whose collected beaming light keeps them alive in our hearts. It is where the past and future converge into a living space. The design approach draws inspiration from the land, its people, and its cultural context. The museum narrative is carried forward through storytelling craftworks, specially co created with the local artisans for each of the spaces. Spread across 7 thematic blocks, here you will witness over 100 unique exhibits, moving sculptures, engaging installations, handmade scenography, the largest simulator of India, earthquake scenes, personal stories, and much more. More than 2,000 visitors engage with the museum every day, adding life and light to the forest of memories. Welcome to India's largest memorial and museum. Welcome to Smritivan.
So broadly, it's a museum which tells you a story of earthquake, and this is why I tell you that the story is something which is very very important to us. So once we got the museum, we were told that we need to do a museum on earthquake, but we really wanted to get into it that what a earthquake museum is all about. So during our research, we realized that the story is not just the earthquake. The story is about the constant natural occurrence which is happening. So it is about the story of natural occurrence rather than the earthquake itself. So the whole story unfold about the natural occurrence, and Kutch as a place got natural occurrence not at the earthquake itself. Every 100 years a major earthquake comes in Kutch. So it is not just this earthquake. It got captured because it happened this time, but every 100 years there is a bigger earthquake coming in Kutch itself. So the whole story was about the natural occurrences in and around Kutch, and then the resilience of Kutchi people. So it's like celebrating the resilience of Kutchi people and talking about what a natural occurrence is. So, for example, making of Himalayas or making of oceans or making of rivers is also a natural occurrence. So, telling that everything is a natural occurrence, from the way the weather goes up, the rains comes, the wind flows, to the Himalayas getting formed, to an earthquake itself, and how as humans we have adapted to this is something which the museum is all about. And of course, as of today's museum, it need to be very interactive, it need to be technology heavy to be able to show these kind of secret or amazing stories to different users. So again, there are interactive spaces like a digital Shraddhanjali, to an actual simulator, which kind of make the experience of the actual earthquake which happened. So it's like a 9 meter high theater, 360-degree theater, where you relive the earthquake with the simulator table. So you're actually on a simulator space where you simulate the actual earthquake. To a lot of interactions of what all happened in Gujarat, to the scenes of earthquake, reliving those scenes, um, to the possibilities of what happened after the earthquake. So there were galleries on hope, there were galleries on signs of why earthquake happens, why the natural occurrence happens, to the documentation of all the stories which happen. So it's like there's a room in which these are products dedicated to each and every story. So once you pick up a product and you put it on a table, you can actually listen to that type of story. So places like these. On the left hand side, you see a space where we wanted to tell what actually happened after the earthquake. So it is like a place where you depict death. So we created a space where we captured all the phone calls which were happening that time, and it is a room with 100 headphones and the voices of that time. On the right hand side, there's a infinity room which is there. So a lot many interactions like these, a lot of sculptures in that sense. Uh, this is a future gallery where we showed that what is our preparedness as India for the future for all the natural occurrences. So this is the earlier project. Then this is a project which is in Delhi, which is at the Red Fort. It is known as the Red Fort Information Center. So it is an old barrack which was converted into a museum. It was a barrack which was built by Britishers by demolishing Red Fort after the War of 1857. So again, you need to see that how a old building kind of had a readaptive reuse of using into a new system of design. So it's a small video on this also.
The abandoned colonial barrack has been brought to life to tell the stories of the Fort of India, the Red Fort. Conserved and adaptively reused with natural materials, the rich tales and textures come back to life here. Divided across two floors, the visitor center invites you to explore Red Fort's history and connect you with its relevance today. The visitor engages with a space that are tied together with multi-sensorial storytelling experiences. Welcome to the Red Fort Center.
Yeah. So this is the center which is right across the structure where the Prime Minister every year hosts the flag. So this is the earlier building which we got. It was not conserved. It was the way it was left up by the Britishers after the independence itself. So it was broadly being used as an army barrack. So we kind of converted this into this, and now there's a whole museum inside. Of course, this is the part of the floor inside. Again, there was a whole history of how we need to do the conservation of this place, how it need to use the same brick which was used in the building itself. So there's a whole sustainable way of using an old building which is being shown here, to how you do services which are not visible. Of course, the earlier barracks was not air conditioned, but this barrack is air conditioned. So how you do services which kinds of don't take away from the heritage, how you need to preserve walls. Like for example, you see right now that everything is done on the floor and on the glass. What you see as information is all reflection from the sunlight, and we have not touched the wall broadly. It has been celebrated the way it is. So we actually put out all the plaster and all the tuna which was done on the building itself, and we actually conserved the original walls. There was a 360-degree show inside to show what was Redford at that time. Uh, then, of course, there are lot many dioramas and projections and hand sketched paintings to different installations, to places where you can smell, you can touch. There's a museum of socialism in Lucknow. Again, this is a building which is dedicated to Jai Prakash Narayan, a freedom fighter. I'm not going into details because we don't have that much time. But again, everything is related to that story. On the right hand side, you see a sculpture which dedicate its story to emergency, what happened during the emergency itself, to a lot of storytelling through audio guides. The whole museum is narrated by Mr. Bachchan, and it has one of the biggest kinetic sculptures in India with balls, to a lot of audiovisual galleries. This is a museum which we have done at Victoria Memorial, inside the Victoria Memorial, which is on Subhash Chandra Bose. Here we celebrated 125 years of Subhash Chandra Bose ji. So, so the rotunda itself, which is the central space, to a lot of artifacts and films about him. We have done a museum of Islam, a lot of interactive installations around. the Indian Islam and Indian culture, weaving it together. Then, of course, we have done museum on kids, on children in Anjar. There's a museum on that. Of course, we do a lot of outdoor installations also. It's just not inside. We say a lot of storytelling happens outside also, but a lot of time you have to see the material which we are using. So again, you see a lot of cotton steel and concrete which doesn't go anywhere, where people can walk and understand the stories. Then, of course, this is inside. This is the museum inside Red Fort again on Subhash Chandra Bose in 1857. This is a museum which we have done in Delhi at the Nehru Memorial. Then, of course, we do a lot of urban design project also. Like we have kind of reconserved and redeveloped the area around Taj Mahal, uh, and did a lot of branding and signages for the area of Taj Mahal itself. Then we did a lot of branding and signages and storytelling and redeveloping the area of Varanasi Ghats. Again, so here the cotton steel as a material is being used because during monsoon, 3 4 months, the all ghats are underwater. So this whole area which you see right now is underwater for 5 months. So broadly, once the water goes down, nothing should happen to your installation. So that is how the outdoor installations have been done, right from the signage of a ghat to a storytelling signages. Once you enter into Varanasi, you need to know that what are the stories of different 80 ghats which Varanasi have. So as you enter, you can get to know the story of all those 80 ghats before you move forward. And then, of course, it's an installation at night. Um, yeah, and then similarly, we have done the old Lucknow area, lighting up the Ruby Darwaza, getting off the encroachments, and then, of course, drilling out these all monuments in Husainabad, the old Lucknow area, lighting it up, the before and after pictures of the same monument. This is opening up the patch of Rumi Darwaza to sculptures around that, to Lal Imli in Kanpur, conserving the whole facade and lighting up that. So broadly, this is the projection mapping in Mumbai on Gateway of India. So every day there's a show on the story of Gateway of India, the story of Mumbai through projection mapping. Yeah, so there is a lot more projection mapping at Fulbagh, which is in Kanpur, the whole projection mapping on that. Then again, we have done the lighting and projection mapping of Sun Temple, Modera. So it's like highlighting all the 108 temples which are inside Modera itself. So broadly, the portfolio is from museums to the urban spaces to gestures of heritage. So this is projection mapping on Modera Sun Temple. So, yeah, so there's much more to tell, but broadly I will restrict myself to those 15 minutes. So broadly, this is what we do.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. I think so. We have been looking at all of these projects, but then hearing about them from you seems really good and honorable to understand about how this whole space design was done and why it was done. Smritivan Museum really, translates the whole idea of why it was necessary that museum to be built, or depicting such an event which was so disastrous and which has, I think, impacted so many people for long years of time. So it's all really wonderful looking at your work.